"You're different. You're smarter than everyone else here."
A sentence like that can feel harmless. To Daniel, it felt like oxygen. He had been at the company for 3 months, doing good work and hearing almost nothing. Then Owen, the confident senior everyone seemed to respect, noticed him. He remembered Daniel's ideas. He sent him a book. He invited him for coffee and said, "People like us usually see what others miss." There was no request. Not yet. A week later, Owen asked Daniel to attend a private meeting after work. It was only an hour. Refusing felt strangely rude after all that attention, so Daniel went. This is where manipulation often begins. The person does not create a need inside you. They find the need that is already waiting, then position themselves as the person who can finally satisfy it. For Daniel, that need was not money. It was the feeling of being chosen. A manipulator does not need to read your mind. They watch for relief. Which compliment changes your posture? Which subject makes you explain yourself too much? When do you become afraid of disappointing them? For Daniel, it was recognition. For someone else, it might be belonging, certainty, affection, or rescue. The surface need changes. The vulnerability is relying on another person to decide whether you are worthy, safe, or included. Humans have a strong need to form and protect social bonds. That is ordinary, not a character flaw. It also means attention can carry more weight when someone feels ignored or excluded. Owen kept calling Daniel rare, but only when Daniel agreed with him. Each compliment quietly tied Daniel's identity to Owen's approval. Think of it as emotional customer research, except the refund policy is terrible. The manipulator is learning which feeling you will work hardest to keep. Once they know it, kindness can be turned into leverage. Owen began with things that looked generous. He stayed late to help with a presentation. He paid for lunch. He introduced Daniel to people who made him feel important. Psychologist Robert Cialdini describes reciprocity. When someone gives first, we often feel pressure to return something. That pressure is not manipulation by itself. Most relationships involve give and take. The problem begins when a gift was never really a gift. It was an invoice kept out of sight. Then came the small yeses. Join the meeting, post a positive comment, bring one friend next time. Cialdini calls this commitment and consistency. After we say yes publicly, we often want later choices to match the person we already claim to be. Owen also created a sense of unity. We're not like everyone else. We understand the game. Daniel stopped evaluating each request on its own. He was protecting an identity. Smart, loyal, chosen. By the time Owen made a larger request, refusing felt like contradicting everything Daniel had already said about himself. Figure out the following. Daniel did not need a clever comeback. He needed distance between the feeling and the decision. First, he separated the compliment from the request. "I'm smart," and "this is a good offer" were two different claims. Then he delayed his answer. Urgency loses power when it has to survive overnight. He checked the offer with someone outside Owen's circle and asked one uncomfortable question. What happens to this relationship if I say no? Owen's answer was not a sentence. It was the withdrawal of everything Daniel had been taught to value. Compliments are not dangerous. Kindness is not suspicious. Persuasion is part of ordinary life. The warning sign is dependence. When one person makes you feel that your worth, belonging, or safety exists only through them. Someone who cares about you may dislike a boundary, but they do not make you earn your place back by removing affection. Owen's first compliment worked because Daniel wanted it to be true. The trap was teaching him that only Owen could keep it true.